today. I go back to a subject that I've been talking about for a few times. I even made a few videos in Portuguese, and I decided in the next few weeks I will be talking about this because I really want to create awareness for this subject, which is very important to myself, to a lot of Portuguese citizens, to a lot of Portuguese linguists, and non-Portuguese as well, um, to a lot of other professionals from all walks of life. I'm talking about the orthographic agreement, a document that was cooked by a bunch of politicians without any consultation, and that is causing a lot of issues, including all sorts of errors and the language incomplete disrepute. So today I'm going to talk about Portugal and Brazil. Portugal is not Brazil. They are two different countries, and let's talk about this. So let's talk about uh, two different countries, two different cultures. They are united by its historical links. Brazil was colonized by Portugal centuries ago. Um, but the reality is, today they are two different countries, and even after that colonization, uh, Brazil grew and evolved, and it is today a totally different country. I think it always been, it always had its own culture, it always had its own identity, which obviously it's very important, but so does Portugal. And at the moment, and please, I would like to stress in this video, this is not a war between Portugal and Brazil. This is not, I'm not against Brazil, I'm not against the Brazilians. I have plenty of friends that are Brazilians, and I have nothing to do or anything against them. In fact, there are, and I've mentioned this before, there are Brazilian linguists that are against this orthographic agreement because they themselves see that this is wrong. So it's not the people, it's not the country, it's the politicians, and more specifically the Portuguese politicians that have failed their own country. This agreement is causing all sorts of issues, and I would like to tell my non-Portuguese speaking audience why I think this has been causing all sorts of issues. Their idea, wrong, and obviously it's something that was not studied, it's something that was just created for the sake of it, and so much so that most of the Portuguese speaking countries did not adopt it. So that says a lot about this. The reality is the Portuguese cooked this sort of thing um, with obviously the Brazilian government and all other governments in an attempt, they said, to unify the language. Oh well, it couldn't be more disastrous, as you can imagine, because I've said that before, and that's why, for example, when we talk about localization, I also mentioned this. It's very important to be aware of the destination of your translations, because if there is a different variant of a language, it is important to take in consideration which country that document is going to end up, so you make sure that you are translating it to that particular audience. And I have also mentioned many times that, for example, if you're going to translate, let's say, a news article in Portuguese and then publish it in Brazil, the Brazilian audience is not going to be very impressed because it's written in Portuguese, in the European Portuguese, in the main language. And of course, there will be words that are not used in Brazil there are a lot of things that are not used and done like that in Brazil. And of course, they will feel let down. They will say, no, this was not written for us. This was written for Portugal. And the same way that if you put an article written in the variant, in the Brazilian variant of Portuguese, and you publish that article in Portugal, it's going to happen the same thing. The Portuguese are going to say, no, this is written in Brazil, and Brazilian Portuguese. A lot of people already call the Brazilian variant Brazilian, because in reality, when you look at these days, when you look at the differences and the evolution that the variant got in Brazil, you will see that they could get away in creating their own language and call it Brazilian, because it is really different. It suffered, as I mentioned before, it suffered a lot of influences from the American English, and some words are adapted from that. Others are really loan words. Obviously, culturally, they closer to the United States than to Portugal, so that's expected, and that translated in what the language is today, what the culture is today. The Brazilian variant just represents Brazil. It represents Brazil, it represents the Brazilian people, the way they talk, the way they are, it's their identity, and there's nothing wrong with that. It should be embraced by the Brazilians. However, the Portuguese, the main language, the Portuguese, is the language of Portugal, also linked to the Portuguese identity, also linked to the Portuguese culture. And it's obvious that if a politician comes and decides to erase your culture and erase your language, it's going to cause problems, and it's going to cause commotion among the population. In this particular case, it's causing not only the commotion, the revolt of a lot of people, but the absolute disrepair of the way the language is written in Portugal, because people don't know. They simply don't know how to write Portuguese. They decided to take letters, that they say are, mute consonants and all that sort of stuff. So, for example, and if you look, a lot of words, it would be also similar to English. When you say the word Egyptian, you say the P, Egyptian. When you say the word Egypt, the P is there. The same way in Portuguese you say Egipto for Egypt, and you say Egípcio for Egyptian. It's there, the P is there. You take the P out and does not make sense. And then you look at that, you don't know how to read it. You honestly don't know how to read it. The same with the word pact. But with that is even worse. And I'll tell you why. I read this last week in an article on social media, and honestly, I was appalled. Pact, a pact, a deal made with people, a pact, political pact, whatever, a pact. P-A-C-T, which is very similar in Portuguese. Pacto, P-A-C-T-O. So, pacto. As you can see, you pronounce that C. It's not a mute. It's not mute, you pronounce it. It's pacto, and you say it. However, if you take the C, it becomes pato. Pato. P-A-T-O. P-A-T-O, pato. It's duck in Portuguese. So, this is the predicament that the Portuguese language is in at the moment. No one knows how to speak the language anymore. Every single day you read things that honestly are hard to read. I'm a linguist, and every single time I read a Portuguese newspaper, it's hard to read. Every single time I go on social media and I see posts written in Portuguese, it's hard to read. I cannot read them. Sometimes I cannot understand the content because I don't even recognize the words. That's how serious this is. Because in the end, they're not writing Portuguese, they're not writing the variant, the Brazilian variant, because in some in some instances, they accept the two ways of writing, which is absurd, by the way, and the Brazilians would write in a different way regardless, and only the Portuguese adopted something stupid. So this is a total mess, if you ask me, a total mess, and that's why there's been a group that has been fighting for this since this thing was created, this monster that we have been calling it so many names. Since this monster was created, obviously, people that really love the language, people that respect the country and respect the culture of the country and its identity, sovereignty, etc., have been fighting, and we won't be stopping anytime soon, because it's our duty to, I feel that as a linguist, it's my duty to create awareness for this, and create awareness especially with people that don't speak the language. Because I see my clients sometimes asking, but isn't it Portuguese? And I have to explain to them, well, technically it is still called Portuguese, but if you look at it, it's totally different from the main language, from Portuguese, from the Portuguese spoken in Portugal. It is a variant, but it's a very different variant. It really evolved in a different way. And if you hear, for example, if you hear a Brazilian person speaking, you will see that even the accent is totally different. Even the way they speak is totally different. There's nothing wrong with that. They should embrace their culture. They should embrace their language. And so do we. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think the blame here is 100% on the Portuguese politicians that have done nothing. Unfortunately, we have even sent a letter to the president of Portugal, and he's been ignoring us. This is really sad. It's a very sad situation that someone is democratically elected to represent a country, and then when its constituents, when the people that actually are citizens of that country and are supposedly represented by him as the person, the maximum authority in the country, and then these people contact them and ignores them. I cannot understand. I cannot understand something like this. I live in a country. If I want, I can write to my local member, and he's there. His office is a few meters away from my house, and I can go there and I have access to him. I have already walked on the street and I saw him so many times, walking, going about his life, and I said hello to him and he answered me back. So why can't the Portuguese authorities do this? Why can't the Portuguese politicians do this? Why can't we have access to the people that are democratically elected to represent us? That's my question. That is my question. And this is why I would like to make people understand that this is what is going on in Portugal at the moment. And this is why we are so revolted. I have already refused a few projects because of that. I will refuse until the day I die. I will refuse to write the way they want people to write. The same way I will refuse my daughter to learn that. My daughter is not Brazilian, nothing wrong with that, but she's not. She was born in Australia and she has Portuguese background. She does not have Brazilian background. So she will learn Portuguese. She will learn the language of her grandparents, not the language of a foreign country. It does not make sense. It simply doesn't. So This is why I am here today, to let you know this is what has been happening. This is what the Portuguese authorities actually are doing. They are ignoring their citizens, they are ignoring the people, and we don't really understand why. Because the argument of unifying the language is totally wrong. The argument that there's more Brazilians than Portuguese is also wrong. There's more Americans than British. There's more Australians. But the British still keep their language. The British, the English, is still from Britain, is still from England, is still there in UK. And then you have the variants. Totally fine. You have American English, you have Australian English, you have South African English, and everyone accepts everyone because they are. Yes, we were once linked by colonization, and I'm not here to talk about if I agree or not with colonization. That's not the purpose of this video. All these countries were once linked by that, but now they're not. Sovereign countries. The US evolved in a way. Their variant is somehow different from the English, from the mother language. The same with Australian English, even the accents, but not just the accents, the way we write and the way we write things. In Australia, we have some words that are in sync with American English. We have other words that are in sync with English, the British English. And that's fine. That's how we evolved. It's a bit of a mix. Although Australian English, it's more similar to the British English than American. However, there is a few, like for example, truck. We don't say lorry, we say truck. That's just one of the examples. But most of the words we adopted the British ones. And that's all right. And that's all right. Australians live happy, Americans live happy, South Africans live happy, and the British live happy. No one wants to unify English. No one wants to create that. And English, in fact, became the universal language, spoken everywhere. So if there was ever such an argument, English would be it, because then, oh, okay, let's unify it so everyone speaks the same. Please don't, by the way. But no one has ever done it because it doesn't make sense. Does not. So why doing it in Portuguese? And this is why I'm here today. This is why it's something that we cannot explain. The arguments given have absolutely no rhyme or reason. They're just ridiculous. And even worse than that, there was no consultation. No linguists in Portugal were listening. No one. They just imposed. Basically, Portugal lives in a dictatorship, in a language dictatorship, where the Portuguese must abide by this pathetic thing without any respect for what they think, who they are, the country itself. It's insane, basically. So this is why I'm here today. I'm here today to tell all my non-Portuguese speaking viewers why I feel so strongly about this. Why? Because it does not make sense, because this is an assassination of the Portuguese culture, is an assassination of the Portuguese language, is an assassination of Portugal. Basically, that's what is happening. Portugal, these politicians, this current government, and all the governments that have been involved in this mess, they just want to kill completely the country. That's it. And that's something that obviously the citizens are not going to allow, for goodness sake. It does not make sense. It's like, okay, your own government out of a sudden decides to completely destroy your culture, go against your own culture, your own country, your own sovereignty, your own identity, and you just applaud and say, yes, no, it's not possible. That's why we are revolting. And it doesn't matter. I'm in this side of the world. I'm on this side of the world. And I'm still revolted about this because I don't think it's right. Because I don't think this is the right option for Portugal and for Brazil and for anyone for that matter. But obviously Brazil, it's less affected by it because there's no or hardly any alterations on their side. But they have nothing to do with this. Even if there was the argument that the Brazilian government was also involved and the Brazilian government pushed it forward, well, it was the duty of the Portuguese government to say, no, this has nothing to do with Portugal. This has nothing to do with the culture of Portugal. This has nothing to do with the language spoken in Portugal. So I'm not signing it. We are not signing it. The same way Angola didn't sign it. The same way Mozambique didn't sign it. The same way Timor-Leste didn't sign it. Of course they didn't. Has nothing to do with them. So let's do something about this. If you are a Portuguese citizen and if you want to join us, please join us. In my social media page, you will have all the links. I'll give you the link for all the pages, for all the organizers of this group. If you want to join us, join your name, put your name down. You don't need to provide any identity card details or anything like that. You just need your name and your profession, just for the sake of having a bit of an insight of the background of all our members. And we have from all walks of life, as I said. So join us, join your name, and join us in this fight. Let's do this together. Let's say no to the orthographic agreement. And that's my intake today. That's all for today. I hope you like this video today. Even if you don't speak Portuguese, I hope you could understand our fight. You could understand our struggle here and our outrage, our revolt against this, because it's seriously absurd what is happening. It's seriously absurd what the kids are learning in schools. It's so absurd that they simply eradicated all the books, all the school books that used to obviously be current before they implemented this rubbish. They eradicated those books. I've been trying to get books, school books, primary school books, to teach my daughter to speak Portuguese and write Portuguese, because I would like her to write Portuguese as well. And I simply cannot find any books. There are authors of fiction books and all sorts of books that choose to write without these rules. However, school books, because they are mostly dictated by this pathetic government, they do not we cannot find any of these books. So what happened to those books? What happened to those books that were produced and they were in the bookshelves at the time? They were in the bookshops. Where are they? Where are they? In a time that we talk about wastage and we talk about things that are wrong, this is something that is wrong. All those books were simply obliterated. They disappeared. Nobody knows where they are. And now the kids are learning something that is wrong, something that does not make sense, something that does not fulfill their culture, their country, their identity. And that's why every single time we go on any social media page, all we can read is errors. It's ridiculous. It's so sad that it's hard to believe. And it's not because people may not be illiterate or anything like that. Yes, there are unfortunately people that may have not had the same opportunities as someone like me had, and they may have or may do a few typos along the way. But this is not a typo. This is due to the confusion that has been installed in the Portuguese language, and is due to the lack of understanding. People don't know how to write anymore. They're confused because it does not sound right. It does not come from within. This is not what they say. This is not how they speak. So when they try to write, they try not to commit any errors. And in the process, that's exactly what they do. And even the government themselves. You go to the Diary of the Republic, and a paragraph is with the new rules, and the next paragraph is in Portuguese, correct Portuguese. So this is the state of a country that, in my view, has a government that totally lost its way. It's ridiculous, and they don't represent the people. They don't represent Portugal. Quite frankly, they should resign, all of them. That's all I can say. And if you have an opinion about this, what would you do? What would you do if you are an English-speaking person? What would you do if you are British? What would you do if Richie Sunak out of a sudden signs something like this and force you to speak American English or Australian English? What would you say? What would you do? Sounds ridiculous, right? The same way. What if you were American and out of a sudden Joe Biden decided the same thing? Oh, well, we all start speaking Australian English. All the Commonwealth countries are going to speak Australian English. Sounds very ridiculous. So let me know your opinion. What do you think about this? Do you think it's acceptable? Do you think this is the evolution of a language? Or do you think this is just an imposition? This is just a dictatorship created by corrupt politicians that have no idea how to deal with languages? I think it's the latter. And if you have any suggestion of any other subject that you would like to see discussed in our Insiders, just leave me a comment below and I'll be very happy to accommodate it. And put a like on the video and subscribe to the channel with a little click on the bell so you get a notification of a new Insider every week. Before I go, I would like to thank you all for watching. Have a good week. See you next time. Thank you. Bye.